Before the paparazzi chased him through Manila streets, before the movie studios turned his name into a guaranteed box office hit, Gabby Concepcion was just a teenager whose life changed because of one unexpected moment. In the early 80s, a single TV commercial, just a few seconds long, would catapult him into national obsession.
A super whitening toothpaste and mouthwash in one.
Practically overnight, he became the face that every brand wanted. The name whispered in school hallways, and the matinee idol who defined an entire generation of Filipino pop culture. But how did a young man who stumbled into fame suddenly become the superstar of the decade? What was happening behind the scenes during his rise? And why would someone at the top of everything walk away from it all and start a completely new life overseas?
Mga ka-dear heart, kahit na ano ang mangyari.
Before we dive deeper, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our uploads. Especially if you love stories about icons, fame, and the twists nobody sees coming. Because Gabby's story, it doesn't stop at fame. In fact, the real mystery begins right after his biggest success. And what came next would change the direction of his entire life. His rise was explosive. But what followed after that first burst of fame was something nobody expected. From that moment on, Gabby Concepcion wasn't just a rising star. He became the blueprint for what a Filipino matinee idol should look like. And it happened fast. Once the close-up commercial turned him into a household name, movie studios scrambled to get him on screen.
Close-up, a super whitening toothpaste and mouthwash in one.
Every project he touched drew crowds. His pairing with different leading ladies created fan wars long before social media existed. And every new movie premiere turned into a full-blown public event. It wasn't that he was simply famous. He was adored. The kind of adored that turned malls into chaotic seas of screaming fans whenever he appeared. But the height of his fame wasn't only measured in ticket sales. It was the way people followed every detail of his life. From the clothes he wore to the cars he drove. From the rumors about his relationships to the headlines that exploded every time he was spotted with a co-star. Gabby wasn't just acting in movies. He was living inside one. His marriage to Sharon Cuneta in 1984 only intensified everything. Fans called them the it couple of the decade, and the media couldn't get enough. Their love team dominated screens, and their real-life romance made them even more irresistible to the public. It was the kind of fame that seemed unshakable, like he had permanently secured his place at the top. Behind the glamour, though, the pressure kept building. The industry was relentless. A superstar had to be perfect, available, and presentable 24/7. Every mistake became a headline. Every rumor spread like wildfire. And in an era before digital PR teams and online damage control, a single controversy could shape the direction of someone's career. Still, Gabby kept working, movie after movie, endorsement after endorsement. By the mid-80s to early 90s, he was everywhere. Billboards, magazines, TV shows, talk programs. If you lived in the Philippines during that time, you didn't have to be a fan to know who he was. His face was practically unavoidable. And yet, the brighter the spotlight became, the more cracks formed behind it. Fame was great, but it came with consequences. Expectations piled up. Personal matters became public property. And whispers began. Whispers about pressure, burnout, and decisions people didn't fully understand. He was still the superstar everyone adored. But a storm was forming quietly in the background, one that would eventually push him toward an unexpected crossroads. And that turning point? It wasn't just career-changing. It would lead him thousands of miles away from everything he once knew. The cracks that formed behind the spotlight didn't disappear. They slowly widened. And while fans saw Gabby Concepcion living the dream, The reality behind closed doors was far more complicated. Because when you live at the center of national attention, even the smallest misstep becomes a front-page disaster. As the years passed, Gabby found himself caught in the non-stop rhythm of fame. Interviews, shoots, tapings, premieres, there was barely a moment to breathe. And with every new project came a fresh wave of public curiosity. People weren't just watching his movies. They were dissecting his personal life like it was a never-ending teleserie. His marriage, his relationships, his choices, everything became up for public debate. And that pressure reached its peak in the mid-90s. Rumors, controversies, and intense media scrutiny began swirling around him. Whether the stories were true or exaggerated didn't even matter. The noise was constant. The 1994 Manila Film Festival scandal, where accusations and tensions exploded in the industry, only added more heat around him. Suddenly, the environment he once thrived in felt hostile, unpredictable, and suffocating. Behind the scenes, people close to him started noticing a shift. The bright, energetic star who once embraced the chaos was now pulled back, quieter, more reflective. It was clear he wasn't just dealing with career pressure anymore. He was wrestling with questions about stability, peace, and identity. And then came the choice nobody expected. In 1995, at the height of his fame, when most people would do anything to stay in the spotlight, Gabby made the bold decision to leave the Philippines. Not for a vacation, not for a temporary break, but for a new life entirely. He migrated to the United States, stepping away from the industry that built him into a superstar. For fans, it was confusing. How could someone adored by an entire country just, walk away? Some believed he needed a break. Others speculated that the constant controversies pushed him out. And a few whispered that he simply wanted freedom. Not from acting, but from the weight of being Gabby Concepcion, the untouchable leading man.
Mga ka-dear heart, kahit na ano ang mangyari.
But according to those who spoke to him over the years, the truth was simpler. He wanted a clean slate. A life where he could be himself without cameras watching. A chance to build something real, steady, and away from the chaos he'd known since he was barely out of his teens. His departure shocked the industry. But no one could have predicted what came next. Because in the United States, Gabby wasn't just starting over. He was reinventing himself completely. Leaving the Philippines was one thing, but building a new life from scratch was something else entirely. And once Gabby Concepcion stepped onto American soil, the reality of that choice hit him fast. No cameras, no assistants, no screaming fans. Just the quiet hum of a completely different world. The transition was jarring at first. Imagine going from being recognized everywhere to suddenly becoming another face in a crowd of millions. For someone who had lived inside the spotlight for over a decade, that silence could have felt lonely or liberating. In Gabby's case, it became a bit of both. He settled in California, where life moved at a slower, more predictable pace. Gone were the days of non-stop movie shoots. Instead, he stepped into something far more grounded: real estate. People who crossed paths with him said he took the job seriously, not as a temporary escape, but as a genuine new career. He studied, trained, kept his head down, and learned to navigate a job that didn't care about past fame. It was a humbling experience. In the Philippines, he was a superstar. In the US, he was a newcomer. And that contrast became the foundation of his reinvention. Away from showbiz noise, he also had space to reflect. The controversies, the constant public attention, the weight of expectations, they all felt distant now. For once, he could walk into a grocery store without worrying about headlines the next day. He could meet people who knew nothing about his past. And for many, that was the version of him they met. Not the idol, but simply Gabby. Still, the shift wasn't always smooth. Adapting to a new culture, finding steady income, and leaving behind a career he'd built since his teens weren't easy decisions. There were moments when he missed the energy of Manila, the love of fans, the rhythm of acting. But there was also a strange comfort in knowing he didn't have to perform anymore. At least not in the way he once did.
Gabby! Welcome!
And despite being miles away from the Philippines, he never completely severed the connection. Fans occasionally spotted him during visits home, and every sighting sparked rumors. Was he coming back? Was he done with showbiz forever? Or was this just a chapter before something bigger? No one knew for sure. Not yet. What was clear, though, was that the United States didn't just give him a new home, it gave him a second identity. A life built on effort, independence, and quiet rebuilding. But even after all this reinvention, fate had one more twist waiting for him. Because years later, a surprising pull would draw him back into the world he once left behind, and the comeback would shock everyone. For years, it seemed like Gabby Concepcion had closed the chapter on his life in showbiz. He had built something stable in the US, created a new identity, and learned to live without the non-stop noise of fame. But as much as he tried to blend into his new world, something quietly tugged at him, something he didn't fully shake off. And that pull was home. Every time he visited the Philippines, even briefly, it became clear that people hadn't forgotten him at all. Whether it was a simple dinner out or a quick appearance somewhere, fans would still gather, still whisper, still get excited like the 80s never ended. Even without trying, he remained part of the country's cultural memory. And slowly, the idea of returning, something he once dismissed, started to feel less impossible. But here's the twist. His comeback didn't happen overnight. It took more than a decade before he set foot back into the world he left behind. Then, in 2008, the announcement finally dropped. Gabby Concepcion was returning to showbiz. Not for nostalgia, not for a short cameo, but for a full-fledged comeback. The reaction? Shock, curiosity, and a bit of disbelief. People wondered what version of Gabby would show up. The fearless matinee idol? The humbled businessman? Or someone entirely new?
Ito na! Sa'yo na! Oh! Ayun na! May mic ka! Okay!
When he stepped back into the spotlight, viewers got their answer. The Gabby that returned wasn't the same wide-eyed teen heartthrob from the 80s. He was more grounded, more composed, carrying a quiet confidence shaped by life abroad. The industry had changed, the dynamics were different, and a new generation of actors dominated screens. But none of that stopped him. Instead, he adapted. Producers quickly realized something important. He hadn't lost his magic. His return marked the beginning of a new era in his career. This time, he wasn't just playing the charming leading man. He took on deeper, more mature roles. He transformed from the idol boys idolized and girls adored into the seasoned actor who brought weight to every character. And audiences welcomed him back like he never left. But here's what most people didn't see. While he re-entered showbiz, he didn't abandon the life he built abroad. His years in the US remained part of him, grounding him, shaping how he handled work, fame, and criticism. He balanced two worlds, his roots in the Philippines and his quieter life overseas. This dual existence made his comeback even more intriguing. He wasn't trying to relive the past. He was rewriting it, proving that reinvention doesn't erase history. It strengthens it. But his journey didn't end with his return to entertainment. Because what happened next would redefine not just his career, but his legacy. His return to the Philippines revived a career many thought was long finished. But what happened afterward proved that Gabby Concepcion wasn't just staging a comeback. He was entering an entirely new chapter of his life, one that blended everything he had learned abroad with everything he once built at home. Coming back didn't mean he slipped back into old habits or old patterns. In fact, his years in the United States had changed him in ways even longtime fans didn't expect. The man who once lived in the whirlwind of fame now approached everything with intentional calm. He chose his projects carefully, valued privacy more strongly, and treated his work with a maturity shaped by the responsibilities he carried abroad.
Ang sima pa ni Sharon ng malikha.
Nako, salamat po. Ano pangalan niyo?
Andrea?
Andrea.
And the industry noticed. Directors praised his discipline. Co-stars described him as thoughtful, easy to work with, and incredibly grounded. Viewers picked up on it too. There was depth in his performances that came from real-life experience, not just acting training. Instead of trying to reclaim his title as a teen idol, he embraced the natural evolution of his craft. The characters he played were richer, older, more human, and audiences connected to that authenticity. But the most interesting part of Gabby's next chapter wasn't just what he did on screen. It was the life he built off it.
I love you.
He didn't fully leave the United States behind. His life there, the one he quietly built far from cameras, remained a core part of who he was. He traveled back and forth, maintaining ties, relationships, and the sense of normalcy he had discovered abroad. It was as if he found balance in the one thing fame never gave him: freedom. This lifestyle created a unique identity. Someone who could embrace the spotlight but didn't depend on it. Someone who could work in showbiz without letting it consume his personal world. And that duality became part of his lasting appeal. Meanwhile, fans from the 80s who once adored him for his boyish charm now saw him through a different lens. Many had grown older alongside him, facing their own reinventions, relocations, and life changes. In some way, Gabby's journey mirrored theirs. He wasn't just a symbol of nostalgia anymore. He became a reminder that life doesn't stop at one success, one mistake, or one chapter. And even as a new generation discovered him through modern teleseries, his legacy remained firmly rooted. A superstar who stepped away from the height of fame, rebuilt himself in a foreign land, and returned stronger than ever. But as impressive as his transformation was, one more question remained. What does Gabby Concepcion's story really tell us about reinvention, fame, and the courage to walk away when the world expects you to stay? And that brings us to the heart of his story. After everything, fame, pressure, reinvention, and return, Gabby Concepcion's life shows something most people overlook. Sometimes you have to leave the world that built you to truly understand who you are without it. His journey wasn't just about escaping controversies or chasing peace abroad. It was about rebuilding himself from the ground up, discovering stability and proving that success can take many forms and happen more than once. His path reminds us that reinvention doesn't erase your past. Instead, it reshapes it into something stronger. From 80s idol to US entrepreneur to respected actor. Once again, Gabby's story is ultimately about resilience and the courage to start over, even when the whole world is watching. If his journey teaches anything, it's that it's never too late to choose a new direction. And sometimes that new direction leads you right back to where you started, only wiser and more grounded than before. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an upload.